Our next generation platform, PlayStation 4.
7 years we've waited for a new HD console generation, and I can't believe in 2013, it's finally upon us. At first glance, the PlayStation 4 looks freaking fantastic, but then there's a few things that have me quite worried. So let's summarize all these rumors, press conferences, data, and all this internet information, and put it into one video. And I present to you the top 5 best
and worst things of the PlayStation 4. Number 5.
Best. Let's start with something on a high note. The PlayStation 4 is offering something pretty awesome. In this age of downloadable content, downloading and streaming games that are upwards of 5 to like 25 gigs, waiting to play your video game is a huge issue and was a huge issue on the PlayStation 3. Sony has absolutely listened to its fan base and plans to alleviate this with something called cloud gaming. As soon as the first byte is downloaded of any game or demo you're trying out, Sony's PlayStation 4 will actually let you play it. Now this is something really important to me because installing a game and then waiting for multiple title updates to download for said game on the PlayStation 3 could take upwards of 20 to 25 minutes, and by that time I almost didn't want to play the game anymore. I never realized how much of a deep emotional satisfaction I get out of watching Solid Snake smoking. Oh wait, I don't. Fuck this shit.
Number 5. Worst!
The top of the worst list begins with the fact that we didn't even see the system yet. It's pretty funny that Sony would hold a press conference where millions of people across the world and industry professionals would go forth and explore a brand new era of video games without even seeing the system. Now, because it's not there, it causes questions. Maybe it's the controller. Maybe the controller is actually the system, beaming a high-definition laser into your television, rerouting that information back directly into your brain.
PlayStation 9 indeed.
Number 4. Best. Live streaming from your console, anytime, anywhere, sounds amazing. Being able to save and record, go back, make a video clip, and upload it to some, YouTube or some shit, sounds really freaking cool. But almost too good to be true. They said they've added hardware into the system to accommodate this feature, but the bigger issue is that internet connectivity also requires kind of a boost at the same time. But unless it's heavily moderated, it's gonna be kinda weird watching all these video clips and live streams of dudes' dicks playing video games. PlayStation 4. Dicks everywhere.
Number 4. Worst!
Aha! This is fantastic! Clearly this is one of Nintendo's best ideas with Wii Music, and Sony obviously wanted to copy it. Hey man, at least they understand our blazing desire to make hilarious GIFs out of their conference.
Number 3. Best!
Sony, thank you so much for ditching all that emotion and cell processor crap. For the past 2 generations, they've released systems that are blatantly difficult to develop for. Well, thank God that's finally over, as developers and designers don't have to crack the code and play hide-and-seek with the console that they're trying to develop their game for. Man, I got this great idea. Maybe if we have the character go and do this.
Oh, I don't think so.
No, it wouldn't be that hard to do. We just gotta find a little bit of extra memory.
Oh, memory? Oh, you're so funny.
Number 3. Worst.
Blizzard is making its triumphant return to consoles. The Master Race will return with real video games. Not World of Warcraft. Not StarCraft. Not StarCraft Ghost. We will bring the people Diablo 3.
Ah, shit.
Number 2. Oh, girl, best!
Now there is this rumor going around for some time, and we still don't know about the next generation Xbox, that used games will not function on your system because each title will have a serial or code that only allows it to be played on one unit. Well, besides being the end of GameStop, which not many would shed a tear for, it would be the conclusion of competitive fighting game tournaments. Now before I or anyone else screams from the mountaintops,
No, you can't!
This is not happening, and Sony has come out on record saying that you can play used games on the PlayStation 4, and you can play offline. It's just that all your DualShock controllers and fight sticks aren't gonna work.
Son of a bitch! Number 2. Worst.
Killzone Shadowfall looks pretty good. Actually exudes a high level of polish over its PlayStation 3 counterparts. Nothing too different than what we've seen before, but it does look like a perfect launch title. Oh, and they're aiming at 1080p. Finally, we can get some games that are actually developed for 1080p on consoles. and 30 frames a second.
Why?
Aren't we in a day and age that understands how important 60 frames per second is for first-person shooters? The most popular game of all time now got to that point because of its tight and responsive controls running at 60 frames per second on consoles. If I have to go through another console generation running at sub 30 frames a second, then I'm joining the PC Master Race. And Gabe Newell is gonna give me the manliest hug ever. Yes!
The number one best thing of the PlayStation 4.
Now there's a lot of smoke and mirrors when it comes to early console reveals. If anyone remembers the early conferences of the PlayStation 3, there was a huge argument over the Killzone 2 and MotorStorm footage, whether or not it was pre-rendered or in-game. And as we all know, they were not in-game. But there was one title, one new IP game that no one had heard about before this evening that had my freaking jaw on the floor. Deep Down from Capcom, or as I like to call it, Inside You, really looks like a game that we should be expecting from the next generation of console hardware. Now the issue with this is that it looks somewhat fabricated. The user interface at the bottom left of the screen is obviously tacked on, and the camera angle switches between first person and third person throughout a couple of times in the demo, which leads me to a little bit of disbelief. But if this is how we can expect titles to look like on the PlayStation 4, Sony is in for a bright future if a game like this can run a smooth or high frame rate and actually be a good game at the same time. Oh, and did I mention hot fire? Hot fire! We'll get caught up enough! Hot fire!
The number one worst thing of the PlayStation 4.
You did a good job, Sony. This press conference was actually showing things that I was looking forward to seeing. Real games on the PlayStation 4. It's a pretty decent amount of variety when you think about it. A new driving game, 2 open world games, a high-class first-person shooter, a new IP from Capcom, the promise of a new Final Fantasy, and all this wand wiggle crap. But unless these third-party titles look absolutely freaking amazing on PlayStation 4 and run a higher frame rate, it's going to be hard to convince all those folks that own the game on Xbox 360 and PS3 to pay a boatload of money that makes the game just look a little bit better. What concerns me is that only a few games actually seem to be lining up with the launch window. Watch Dogs, Killzone 4, the new Call of Duty, and some indie games maybe. Hopefully Infamous makes it around the launch window, because I don't know if just having Killzone 4 as your exclusive game is going to be enough to convince people to actually buy a PlayStation 4. The last thing I want to see is the PS4 go through something like the Wii U has gone through. And that console over there in that freaking corner has more dust on it than anything in this house. Please, Sony. You guys have listened to us so much and so far with the development of this system. You're listening. We hear you. But the last thing we want to hear again for a PlayStation brand is that old meme, PS3 has no games. But really, if it is a bunch of third-party really good games that are launched with this system upon release, if those titles look better and actually run at better frame rates than all of their home console counterparts, then Sony's got something good going. You can put it on the back of the box. Runs best on PlayStation 4. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments below, and what are your top 5 best and worst of the PlayStation 4. Now stay tuned, as the next time we're going to learn a lot about the PlayStation 4 is probably going to be E3 2013, and of course, the Xbox 720. My name is Maximilian, and I'll see you guys next time. Hot fire! We'll get caught up enough! Hot fire!